Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Ben, Grace, Alonso, almost done with the second season of UnREAL. This is episode 9, Espionage. There were moments on this episode where I thought that we were really going to jump the tracks. I know a lot of people have been saying this is the season where it's been kind of going off the rails, and I have been defending it up until now. And then this week I was like, okay, well, maybe they're right. But by the end of it, I felt like they'd kind of gotten it back in control again.
I thought that. I had to catch up because I was away for most of July. So, I had been leaning toward. I think there's some rail jumping here or track jumping, and then I thought like episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8 were tightened back up. Like I felt pretty good about those episodes, really good about them. I thought they were good, and then here again, I thought sort of the random spying. I secretly bugged your. What did he bug?
The phone.
I learned how to bug your phone in a
hacker
second.
Taught me how to bug your phone,
Yeah.
and I did that.
That's the equivalent to the Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
And
we even got a little bit of that Downton Abbey from Madison peeking in on Yael
Why not just say,
Coleman.
why not be like, I mic'd it? Like, I mean, it's a TV show. Like, I mic'd it. And,
Yeah, you were mic'd or something
right,
like that.
Yeah, I stick a mic in your...
Well, because Quinn, or rather Rachel, would know that was happening.
Okay, but she mic'd the couch. He mic'd the...
Okay, sure.
Something. I just mean something other than I called the guys from Mr. Robot. And now we... So there were a couple of moments here where I thought, and just too much reliance on sort of Rachel's intense conversations where she pretends to be on somebody's side and either is or isn't. Like there's a lot of that scene again where we're like, okay, now Rachel, she does buy this. Okay, she doesn't buy this one. This time
she's going to betray. No, she's not.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's been a little bit too much revealed from Rachel having an intense conversation with someone, or also being on drugs and just saying things, on camera. And the device of being recorded and the threat of blackmail, to me, it feels like they're reaching a little bit in this most recent episode, and it's just a little bit tiresome.
And you pointed out before also that they seem to have lost their thread with Chet. Yeah. And I agree. I think he's now like, I don't even know. It's like he just wants to get a blowjob. Like
Honestly.
I don't even know anymore what his final goal is, because for 2 seconds he was like trying to establish himself as an entrepreneurial NFL type to impress Quinn because she was having her thing with the actual entrepreneur guy, and then now
he's like, oh, Tiffany's hot, JK, let's just, how about I just eat her out on this balcony? Well, why? Like, what are you doing?
And the whole poop thing, that can be funny, but the way it was done in this one and the over enjoyment that Quinn got out of it reminded me too much of the first Sex and the City movie. Like that was the one joke in that movie that really didn't land for me. The whole with Charlotte and the pudding.
That was the one joke that didn't land.
Well, that was of the many jokes maybe in that movie that didn't land. Although the first one's good. The Sex and the City 2 is the shit show. That's right. Not literally, but anyway, I thought it was a funny idea. They really overplayed it. Yeah, and by the 8th reference to it, I was like, okay, let's. Also,
it's a funny idea, right? If it could, because it sabotages Yael.
Yes.
But so you have her run out of the date and it's embarrassing, that might be okay, right? Mm-hmm. But the idea that they're actually going to lock her out of a bathroom and that they're going to camera crew's going to follow her and then they would air.
Well, that's at least consistent with the way Everlasting works. That they would air it. You're right. They would
then air it. Again, it just seemed like this doesn't feel authentic. And now I think everything with Coleman is sort of not feeling authentic.
Everything with Coleman is, it seems like it was fraudulent from, there was something else. But I don't know if I can believe that, though, because he said so many times in what felt like true moments that he really did have feelings for Rachel. And then the way that he was speaking with her, the way that he treated her, and the way that he cared for her and their future. It seemed like we had this setup, and now what? Yael is hot, so never mind.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
And he's at least saying the right stuff about Rachel's bombshell about her mother.
Right.
But even that seems like this. I mean, that's like a huge character thing that the show has kind of thrown out there and doesn't really quite know what to do with, and it's just sort of on the table with all these other things that are happening.
And they gave it to someone, by giving it to Coleman, they gave it to someone who we know isn't part of this. Mm-hmm. Like, Coleman, I don't think. I mean, I'm just
He's
guessing.
an interloper, yeah.
Coleman's not back next year, right? I mean, it doesn't seem like it. Maybe he is, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like there'll be another instigator, another character who will come in next year who will threaten the delicate balance between Quinn and Rachel. So, I mean, I sort of agree with all that. But he did give us the soap opera look when he gave her the hug afterwards.
Right.
Well, I was like, because he gave the, I mean,
but
he
she
hugged
gives
her
it
and
later.
they push it on him, and they're like, oh, maybe. But then in the previously, they didn't go to that. So I was like, were we supposed to ignore the look, or are we supposed to care about?
But then later, when she professes, when Rachel makes it sound like she's going to help him take down Quinn, then she gives the soap opera look to the camera during their hug.
That's right.
Like, so that we know that she's not really in it.
She's not really into it. Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think even with all of that said, the fact that Quinn knows everything by the end of the episode felt to me like, okay, we're back on board. You know, after the hitting the screens with the golf club, that also felt a little de trop. But I think at least the show's like there was almost an intent to just be like, all right, we're just gonna let everything go bananas, and now we're gonna scoop it all back up for the season finale.
And I like that they ended with Rachel and Quinn together in the room, being like, we need to do this together. I felt like that was a moment where the show found its center again.
Right.
Because this episode was completely crazy. I think we can all agree with that. But having the moment of Quinn telling Rachel that she loves her.
Yeah.
Having this moment, Quinn's just found out she can't have kids, and then Rachel is in whatever sort of crazy turmoil that they've left her in that we haven't dealt with yet, and just knowing that they have each other, just like they did on the first episode of the season, going into the finale makes me feel a little bit better, but I will be honest, this episode was just totally out of whack for me. It just wasn't adding up. What with Jay, just kind of going rogue and telling Chantel that she should leave.
And then not following up.
Yes.
Like, it's huge. Like, you got to go back and go, hey, that thing they talked about, that huge that I'm pinning my entire career on and your whole future on, we're still doing that, right? Not like, we talked about that Tuesday. We're good.
If your plot can be undone by Madison, it can't have been that good a plot, right?
And that's not Jay. We've seen Jay before be sometimes more cunning than Quinn and Rachel,
Totally,
and now he's just sort of aloof and just there to be upset.
Jay, Rachel, Chet, Quinn. Like, we want the core.
We want the
core. We want the quartet back, and the and of course the scene though. And I mean everything. I love Chet. I mean I love the character. So I hate that he hasn't had enough to do. But the best line went to Jay related to when he turned the sprinklers on, and then comes back, and then so Jay's like, what did you really turn the sprinklers on? He goes, I thought you were on Team Tiffany. He's like, I care more about the show. And he's like, oh my God, you slept with her. Or, he's like, no, well, I kissed her. And she's like, oh my God, that's worse. That was good. That was nice.
So now, okay, so just to put our ducks in a row for what the finale has to do, we have to resolve Everlasting. Like Darius has to pick somebody. Quinn has to head off Coleman and keep Yael's piece from ever being published.
Yael may quit the business in shame. All business,
I think all the more reason to take these fuckers down.
Retributive,
so she's going to really be hard gunning now to destroy this show.
And she's got an ally in Coleman.
And Jeremy.
Right. And
I mean, she has his
So Jeremy would do well to just back up. I mean, Coleman would do well to just back up all Jeremy's stories, and Coleman would now do well to just say Rachel and Quinn are evil murderers.
Right, although Coleman wasn't there for the stuff that Jeremy was there for.
No, but he'd back it up. I saw, whatever. I just mean be supportive, be
Oh,
on
right.
that
Well,
team.
so that they've got to figure all that out, and what is that?
What else do we have going on? Madison, I don't know, she's kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean, she's climbing that ladder.
But that was a nice scene with her and Rachel. I mean, Rachel's so mean to her. Like, again, there's the cruelty between these women is staggering sometimes. I mean, when Madison, when Rachel's put in that position by Quinn of helping Madison, and then Rachel makes that horrible reference to Madison, saying the only reason you've got ahead is because you were with Chet. Like, again, this is a young woman, like for that relationship with Chet, or that indiscretion that she had with Chet, that's on Chet. Like, she's new. She was an impressionable young employee.
Yeah.
That's on Chet. And like, if this were a decent world at all, you'd scold Madison. You'd be like, hey, You cannot do that, or people will judge you like that your entire life.
Right.
Now let's not speak of it again, and you don't do stuff like that. Let's go do some work. But of course, nobody does that. Nobody looks out.
That would have been the mature response, Ben.
There's a lot of pecking order going on here, you know.
Yeah, I like the idea that, like, if I'd been in the writers' room, I would have suggested that. I'm sure. Oh, that's great, Ben. Thanks. Good tip.
Again, I mean, that's
not what
one
they
of the great things about this show is that, like, we've had so many charismatic, terrible male characters over the last few years, and now we have some charismatic, terrible women. You know?
Yeah.
But
and we need to, and there needs to be some sort of legitimate solution or legitimate conclusion to Darius's story. Like, it can't just be just picking one. Like, he's not going to pick one. You know, it doesn't seem like he's going to pick Tiffany. It seems like there's a core to him, an authenticity that is causing him not to pick Tiffany.
Dealing with his injury, too.
Right, dealing with his injury. I mean, I think we should see Romeo again, that being handled, that drama of that episode then being handled as, I covered it up and paid it off, that being handled
he got
narratively.
shot, no big deal.
Like
the show still hasn't told us what happened to Romeo, right?
They said that he's going to live.
Okay.
There was that line, but again, there's no stakes in that. They just did that.
Yeah.
It's like Romeo got a job on another show.
And also, I think that we need to address Quinn not being able to have kids, ending her relationship with this guy that she genuinely cared about.
Is John Booth going to come back and be like, you know what, fuck it, we'll adopt, I want to marry you, you know?
Yeah, they definitely have some loose ends to tie up. I just hope that for the finale, we see Quinn, Rachel, Chet, Jay, honestly, even Madison a little bit, just these core characters that we care about coming together, that camaraderie that made us all fall in love with the set of Everlasting. And I hope that that's what we get, but I don't know. I'm a little uncertain, guys.
John Booth should be with Tiffany. Like she can have kids. She has daddy issues.
That's a great
match made in heaven.
That's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
The guy who won The Bachelorette, by the way, already has a gig at one of the ESPN sister
channels. Don't even get me started on the ending of that.
Man, it's hard not to be on Twitter and not have watched that show, because that's when that show happens. That's all. But I thought that in the scene in the diner with Ruby, she didn't say no to him.
I know.
So I get the feeling like we may have a Ruby pick, because she said, and now you're coming back to me here, because she goes, that's not near what you're offering. She said is not nearly enough. She didn't say I'm done with you. She said. Up your game if you need
she's
this.
like, you dumped me on national television, now you expect me to take you back in the back of a diner where no one knows who you are.
Right, that's not enough. Right, suggesting be grand about it.
It's got to be public.
We may have a conversation, and we all want Darius and Ruby to be together.
That's true.
America wants Darius.
Yeah, America.
All right. Fun though. Even though I found massive flaws, I was rapidly tearing through the commercial breaks to get back to work. I was back. Because we love these four people.
One more. So join us next week for the big wrap up.